Do you ever think about your future self? How would your choices in the present change if you took the time to consider how those choices would impact your future self? Today, I want to talk about the power of getting to know the future you. Hello, friends. My name is Eric Cloward, and welcome to the Stoic Coffee Break. The Stoic Coffee Break is a weekly podcast where I take the best ideas from philosophy, science, psychology, pretty much anywhere that I can find them, and I dive deep and break these ideas down to their most important points and find ways to help you apply them in your daily life. Simply put, I try to help you think better so that you can live better. This week's episode is called Future You: How to Bargain with the Future to Become Your Best Self. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. So let me ask you something. Have you ever made a decision that felt good in the moment, but your future self had to pay the price? Maybe it was skipping a workout, or a wild night out on the town. Maybe it was blowing off your budget, or staying silent when you should have spoken up, or saying something you wish you could have taken back. We've all been there. We often tend to live our lives as if our future selves are strangers, as if we can take our problems and stuff them in the back of the closet, leaving them for an unfortunate roommate to have to clean up our mess. But here's the catch. You are that roommate. Future you is still you. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to build a relationship with your future self, how imagining who you want to become can help you make better decisions in the present, and how this concept lines up beautifully with Stoic philosophy. We'll also explore how modern research backs this idea and how you can start using it today to make choices that will serve the best version of yourself. One of the most common struggles in life is the battle between short-term pleasure and long-term well-being. This is what behavioral economists call temporal discounting, meaning we tend to value rewards that we can have now far more than those that we get later. And this is why it's easy to binge on Netflix instead of working on a project, or to order junk food instead of taking the time to cook a meal. Now, the Stoics were deeply aware of this. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." We're often so caught up in the immediacy of the moment that we forget how today's decisions are paving the road for tomorrow's reality. And when you zoom out and you see your life over months and years, sometimes a disturbing pattern might emerge. Your past self may have been a bit of a jerk to your present self. And if you're not careful, your present self might be doing the same thing to your future self. So how do we make a shift so that future you will think present you? So one of the most powerful exercises you can do is to get to know your future self. Not just in the abstract, but actually take time to imagine them. Visualize who you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. How do they look? How do they carry themselves? What habits have they mastered? How do they handle stress? What have they let go of? Who do they surround themselves with? What values do they live by? When we give our future self an identity, a shape, a voice, then it becomes harder to ignore them. Psychologist Hal Hershfield at UCLA found that people who vividly imagine their future selves make significantly longer-term decisions. In one study, participants who participated in it with an aged digital version of themselves were more likely to save for retirement. Why? Because the future self stopped being an abstraction. It became a person. You don't care about a hypothetical someone. You care about someone you know. So get to know the future you. So one exercise that I do with my clients is when they set goals, I ask them, is that goal only focused on the material outcome, or will it help you become the kind of person that you want to be? Knowing your future self makes it easier to figure out what things are worth striving for and which things are worth letting go. So Stoicism, despite its focus on the present and on accepting what we can't control, also teaches us to live in alignment with our telos, our purpose, our ideal self. So Marcus Aurelius in Meditations often reflects on what kind of a person he wants to be: rational, calm, just, humble, and purposeful. He scolds himself when he drifts from that path, not because of guilt, but because he knows who he wants to become. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. This is essentially a dialogue with future you, an inner standard to live up to, an internal compass. So Stoicism doesn't ask us to dwell anxiously on the future, it asks us to prepare for it, to live today in a way that would earn the respect of our future selves. So Epictetus puts it this way, and this is one of my favorite quotes by Epictetus of all time. It says, "Now is the time to get serious about living your ideals. How long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? Your nobler self cannot wait any longer. Put your principles into practice now. Stop the excuses and the procrastination. This is your life. Decide to be extraordinary and do what you need to do now. So that admonition has teeth. It's a call to stop outsourcing our growth to a tomorrow that never comes. Now let's talk about what happens when your actions and your aspirations don't align. This is called the integrity gap. It's the distance between who you say you want to be and what you actually do. And that gap is where self-doubt, regret, and low self-esteem take root. Every time you act in a way that contradicts your future vision, you widen that gap. But every time you act in alignment with the future you, even in small ways, you close that gap and your confidence grows. Now, you don't need to overhaul your life overnight. What matters is stacking enough small, aligned choices that your future self one day turns around and thanks you. If you want to be the kind of person who speaks clearly, practices kindness, handles stress gracefully, or creates meaningful work, start with one decision today. So one of the best things that I've learned from Stoicism is this: the only moment you ever control is the present. But when you use that moment well, you shape everything that comes after. So let's try a thought experiment. Imagine you get a letter from your future self, 10 years older than you are now. What would they thank you for? What would they warn you about? What would they say to you to stop worrying about? What would they beg you to start doing? This is a surprisingly powerful exercise. It pulls you out of short-term thinking. It silences the petty worries and zooms in on what actually matters. Future you doesn't care how many likes you get this week. Future you cares whether you started the thing that you said you would start, whether you took care of your health, whether you took that risk, whether you were kind when it mattered. And if you're really brave, write a letter back to your future self. Make a commitment. Tell them what you're going to do for them. Now, let's get practical and talk about some things that you can do to bring this concept into your daily life. The first idea is the 10-10-10 rule. When facing a decision, ask yourself, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes? How about in 10 months? How about in 10 years? This practice can help snap you out of short-term thinking and realign with long-term outcomes. Number 2, future self-journaling. Take 3 minutes every morning to write from the perspective of your future self. Describe your life, your habits, your mindset. Now, doing so, this primes your brain to seek alignment with that identity. Now, number 3 is the identity filter. Meaning, when deciding what to do, ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do right now? Not what feels easiest, not what I feel like I'm doing, but what would future me do? It's a question that pulls you forward towards becoming the future version of yourself that you want to be. So as we're working through this exercise, there's something important you need to remember. If you're anything like me, when you start thinking about all the ways that your past self has let you down, then you start thinking about all the poor decisions you made, all the wasted time. But judgment doesn't build character. Compassion does. Your past self was doing the best they could with what they knew and felt at the time. But future you doesn't need you to feel ashamed. Future you needs you to start doing the right things. So forgive your past self, make peace with where you are, and move forward. So in conclusion, I want to leave you with this one last thought. Every choice you make today is a vote for the person you will become. You are always becoming something. The only question is, are you becoming who you truly want to be? Your future self is watching, quietly rooting for you, not judging, just hoping that you do something today that makes tomorrow a little easier, that you'll be a little kinder, stronger, and braver. And one day, if you do it right, you'll wake up and realize that you are that future self, and you'll be grateful that you started. So take a breath, zoom out, and ask yourself, what will future me thank me for today? Thanks for joining me on this week's episode. If you found this helpful or inspiring, please share it with someone that might find it helpful. Word of mouth is the best way to help this podcast grow. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so that you can be notified when the next episode is out. And lastly, if you haven't picked up a copy of my book, Stoicism 101, I would love it if you would. You can find more information on my website at stoic.coffee. And as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and thanks for listening.